to tell me that there was a pill that I could take to possibly get superpowers for 5 minutes. I mean, I might try it. It's like been my childhood dream. Would you? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing Project Power, Netflix's brand new original film from the directors of Paranormal Activity 3, the best Paranormal Activity, and as well as Nerve and many other films. And it stars the likes of Dominique Fishback, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Jamie Foxx. Now, the fact of this is I was just pumped from the trailer alone, but with the concept being when a pill that can give its users unpredictable superpowers for 5 minutes hits the streets of New Orleans, a teenage dealer, a local cop must team up with an ex-soldier to take down the group responsible for its creation. Just that concept alone, you know, I'm a big fan of that film Limitless with Bradley Cooper where he takes the pill and he's like super smart. I really like these kind of weird, vibing, kind of drug out films that can be a little bit different and speak a little bit to our society. And I think Project Power does that in quite a bit of ways. Of course, you know what else is pretty cool other than just this concept is hitting that like and subscribe button, because it helps me and it'll also help you guys get tons of early movie reviews, tons of geeky content all the time over here on a daily basis. I want to provide that for you guys, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for Project Power? Are you not? What superpower would you want to get from the pill? Let's talk about it all down there. Let's just start with the cast in here, because that's really the thing that was the main draw for me other than the concept alone. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt coming back in here. We already got him in one film this year, and now we're getting him in another film. It's been such a slow drought of Joseph Gordon-Levitt performances, and I'm so happy that he's finally starting to act again, because he's one of my favorite actors, and this film just proves why. He's this crazy, zany character, but just works for him in this film. And I loved what he was doing. I loved how his character, his mannerisms, his personality. There's one in particular scene where he sneaks into a house and has to pretend that he lives there, and it's absolutely bonkers, but I loved it because it fit for that moment, and it was just really funny to see how his character could react, and then how his character interacts with different other characters in this film is what really made this film worth it for me inside his performance. You know, these performances don't need to be anything in depth, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt makes such a fun and zany performance, something that reminded me of Sharlto Copley outside of Hardcore Henry. Maybe it's a little bit weird to be comparing those two performances, but it really works for me in this right, and I love what Levitt was able to bring to this role. So giving a shout out to Jamie Foxx, who we already know he's a great actor as well, does a fantastic job in here as well, being the more center, serious character who has a lot more going for him than we know from the start, and as the story progresses, you really kind of start to feel for where he's coming about, and Jamie Foxx does a really good job all the time in there. But Dominique Fishback is truly the one that I really want to give the big shout out to, because I thought, you know, when it comes to these younger teenage characters, you can either get very annoyed or very good, and Dominique was excellent in this role. In fact, while I didn't love everything about her character, she still made every single ounce of it work to such a highlight that really she was a big highlight of the film, and her interactions with Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt were excellent, and I loved where her character progressed. I love where her character was going, and I love all the motives between our main heroines. While some of them can be a little bit basic, especially Joseph Gordon-Levitt's, they work because of the performances being given by these actors. When you're watching a story like this, you're gonna need some good heroes to cheer for, and I think they did a good job on casting these three main people, because now you are able to cheer for them. And jumping into the concept again, I really love that concept of getting a pill, taking it, and possibly either exploding or getting a random superpower for 5 minutes. It's insane to think if that was like a real drug in our market, and everything that kind of goes behind it, the origins of that, how it comes about when you start learning more about that. I love that they delved into that, because one of my biggest things is mythology and building your world, and they did such a great job with that in Project Power, to the point of I would have actually really liked to see a sequel to this film eventually, or even a spin-off or a side thing. I think they left some little things open here or there that they could really delve into, and I think it would make for a very interesting story, and I would like to interact with not maybe some of these characters again, but even other side characters that we got just a little bit of a glimpse of. Seeing all the different powers in here was really awesome, and I don't want to go into them all too much because there were some big surprises, but some of them reminded me of, say, the Hulk. Some of them reminded me of, say, Thor, the X-Men, and you know, you get into all these different types of powers and wondering when someone takes that pill, what's their power gonna be? It always made for a fun guessing game, and it always was really cool to see what came about after taking that pill, but the fact that we get to see so many different powers, because every single person has a core power that is related to just them, is really awesome. And you know, one thing that this film kind of reminded me of was how much it felt like an early 2000s film. You really get the vibe of that from pretty much the get-go, and as the film continues, you're like, yeah, this feels like a film that would have come out in the early 2000s, just now with better CGI. And you know, some people won't love that, but I certainly did. And I think when it comes down to a film like this, I can be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to action scenes, because some of the action in here is really good. Some of it's very intense, on the edge of your seat, and some of it's okay, and some of it's not great at all. Nonetheless, even though not all the action was great, there was still some entertaining moments. There's just one in particular where this girl is in this container and there's a bunch of action happening outside the container, but they kept following this girl, and I get the visual style that you're going for on that, but the action looked more entertaining than what was happening inside the container, and I just wondered why we didn't focus on that and maybe have the girl in the background of it, or maybe flashing in and out. You know, I don't get that director choice. And for me, that looked to be the most entertaining action set piece, but they were hiding it. And I understand sometimes you do have to hide things and use creative ways to kind of get around your budget, but still, nonetheless, that's just one thing I really had to mention, because I was kind of interested in that. I still found Project Power to be a ton of fun. I did have some issues with this film. One of the reasons being it feels way too damn long. This film was almost 2 hours, and I don't think it needed to be. There was a couple scenes that could have completely been stripped out of here, and I don't think we even needed to say the less. There's a whole wrapping subplot to one of the characters, and I get the purpose of it, but I also didn't think it was really much needed. It added some personality, I guess, to the character, but I never felt like it went anywhere else than just to add some depth to that character. And there was one moment in particular in a school I'm like, why did we need that? It would have helped with the pacing as well as tonal issues. This film has a ton of tonal issues. There are times where it's trying to be really cheesy, over the top, all sorts of stuff like that, which is fine. But then it gets really drawn out in its serious tonal moments. And again, you're into it in those, but when the film ends, you're like, a really fun, over-the-top, cheesy kind of movie, or is this supposed to be a very serious film? And I could have seen them going either way, but I think they should have really settled on what kind of tone they want to go with, especially when it comes down to certain characters between Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Both characters are like completely different tonal shifts. Sometimes one's really serious and macho, and one time at the next, they're really goofy, and that's also why it kind of reminded me of an early 2000s film, but still nonetheless, Project Power is a ton of fun, and I think a lot of you guys are going to enjoy it, even though I did have some minor cons to it. Before I get to my final thoughts on Project Power, make sure, guys, to comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts. What superpower do you guys want? What are your guys' thoughts on this? Are you guys excited for this film? Let's discuss it all down there. Well, guys, hit that like and subscribe button where you get tons of early movie reviews like this over here on a daily basis, as well as head on over to Synopsis Films on how to see films early. And of course, just a big thank you to you and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Project Power is a ton of fun. It's a little too long. There are definitely moments that could have been completely cut out, some subplots that weren't needed, and some tonal issues that I had with many of the characters. But nonetheless, even though it feels like an early 2000s film, some of the action is kind of a mess, but also it's a lot of fun. Seeing the different powers is what really intrigued me, and I would love to dive back into this world because I think this concept is so unique. The performances by these actors were really good. Each of them bring their charisma, their charming elements to them, and in general, the ways that you've seen them all before in other films, but in a new particular way. I love Levitt. I love seeing him stuff. I love Foxx, and I love Dominique because I think she's great in the role as well. I think their chemistry with one another also works superbly. And again, this world is just so fleshed out in a really cool way that I want to dive back into it hopefully soon. While, again, I had issues, I think this is still a fun action film that you could really sit back, put some popcorn in your face, and totally enjoy. So with all that said, I'm going to give Project Power a B-. Thank you guys again so much for clicking on this. I really hope you guys enjoy this film as much as I did. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are again. Let me know as well what superpower you would hope to get from this pill. For me personally, I would really want super speed because, you know, I was in track and field and I used to be like super fast, and then I got fat. Thank you guys again so much for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.